This family's vacation turns into a nightmare when they become stranded on a mysterious island where no one ever comes or goes. Later, they discover that the entire place was actually a carefully planned trap. The story begins with a man named Kevin, who is on vacation with his family. He arrives at a beautiful tourist destination filled with numerous islands. The place is known for its clean and stunning beaches, where many tourists are enjoying their holidays. Kevin's plan is simple: to spend quality time with his wife, Sarah, and their son. He has already planned everything, including renting a boat to explore the surrounding islands. Sarah is especially excited because it has been a long time since they last had the chance to go on a family vacation. She loves beaches, islands, and adventurous activities. However, when Kevin goes to rent a boat, he is disappointed to learn that every single boat has already been rented out. There isn't a single one left. Even so, Kevin pleads with the owner and says that he is willing to pay extra. After some thought, the owner tells him about another man who has a private motorboat available for rent. Since Kevin desperately needs a boat for his family, he immediately goes to meet the man. He politely asks if he can rent the motorboat. At first, the owner hesitates, unsure whether he should hand it over. Kevin explains that he is traveling with his wife and son, and that they simply want to explore the islands together. After a lot of convincing, the man finally agrees and accepts the rental payment. Kevin even offers to leave his ID card as security, but surprisingly, the man refuses. He says, "I trust you. There's no need for your ID." This strange response makes Kevin slightly suspicious, but by then it is already late. He takes a motorboat, picks up his wife and son, and heads out into the sea. The family has an amazing time on the water. Sarah enjoys every moment because she rarely gets opportunities like this. She loves the beaches, the islands, and the thrill of adventure. After some time, when they look around, they realize that Kevin is still struggling to restart the boat. Worse still, they haven't brought enough supplies with them. Getting stranded on this isolated island could easily become a death sentence. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a boat in the distance. A tourist boat is passing nearby. Kevin immediately jumps into the water and starts shouting at the top of his lungs, desperately trying to get their attention. Unfortunately, they are too far away to hear him. Within moments, the tourist boat disappears, leaving Kevin completely devastated. Trying to stay positive, Kevin tells Sarah and their son that this must be a tourist area and that more boats will probably pass by soon. He assures them that once someone spots them, they will definitely be rescued. Sadly, luck is not on their side. After that one tourist boat leaves, no other boat passes through the area. Before they know it, night falls and they are forced to sleep on the beach. 2 days pass on a mysterious island, and the three of them find themselves trapped in what seems like an impossible situation. Despite waiting for so long, no one comes to rescue them. Sarah slowly begins to lose hope. She believes that this may be the end and that they're going to die on the island. Kevin comforts her, promising that they will find a way to escape. Deep down, however, he knows that he is only trying to keep her spirits alive because he himself has started to fear that no one is coming for them. Agar Tamaisi style main Baki script bet geoj. Main Puri movie KO professional. Natural English voiceover script main convert car dunga. Kevin's son had become seriously ill, so staying on the island was no longer an option since the motorboat was no longer working. Kevin pushed it back into the water and helped his wife and son climb aboard. He had only a single paddle, which he used to move the boat forward. It looked simple from the outside, but Kevin knew how exhausting it really was. Every stroke drained his energy, and soon his entire body was aching. He had almost no strength left. After struggling for a long time, Kevin finally collapsed beside his family. He kept checking over and over again to make sure that Sarah and their son were still alive. Their hearts were still beating, but he had no idea how much longer they could survive. Kevin was on the verge of giving up when he suddenly heard a sound in the distance. A fishing boat was passing nearby. Gathering every bit of strength he had left, he started shouting as loudly as he could for help. Eventually, Kevin became completely exhausted and lost consciousness. Fortunately, the fishermen spotted the stranded family. They immediately steered their boat toward them, rescued Kevin, Sarah, and their son, and brought them safely to shore. Kevin explained everything to the fishermen. He told them that he was a doctor who had come on vacation with his family, but they had accidentally become stranded after their boat broke down. The moment when the fishermen learned that Kevin was a doctor, greed took over. Instead of helping them out of kindness, he decided to blackmail Kevin. He demanded that he should also benefit from rescuing them. Kevin promised that if they saved his family, he would reward them with a large amount of money, but the fishermen had become extremely greedy. He immediately separated Sarah and their son from Kevin, and then made a shocking demand. "I want $1 million. The problem was that Kevin didn't even have that much money. Desperately, he begged the fisherman to let his family go, but the only way off the island was through the fisherman and his boat. The fisherman coldly told Kevin to borrow the money from his friends and relatives if necessary. After thinking about his family's lives, Kevin had no choice but to agree. "I'll get you the $1 million, he said. The fisherman smiled with satisfaction. Then, without warning, he grabbed a paddle and smashed it directly into Kevin's face. Sometime later, Kevin regained consciousness. He found himself on the fisherman's boat as they were heading toward another location. When he looked around, he realized that Sarah and his son were nowhere to be seen. The fisherman casually told him that he had left Kevin's family on another island. He admitted that he didn't want Kevin to return to the city and report everything to the police. With no other choice, Kevin followed every instruction the fisherman gave him. He called every friend and relative he knew, desperately asking for money. He practically begged everyone for help. After countless calls, he somehow managed to gather the required amount. Once the money was ready, Kevin begged the fisherman to return his wife and son. However, the fisherman ordered Kevin to transfer the entire amount into a fake bank account. Kevin went to the bank and completed the transfer. Now the fisherman had received every penny. According to their agreement, he was supposed to reunite Kevin with his family. Instead, he led Kevin out onto the sea once again. He told him to follow his boat. As soon as Kevin stepped inside the engine compartment of his motorboat to check something, the fisherman suddenly slammed the hatch shut, trapping him inside. Even after receiving the money, the fisherman had no intention of keeping his promise. Kevin's boat continued drifting behind the fishing boat across the open sea. After traveling far away from both the city and the islands, the fisherman finally stopped. He signaled Kevin and shouted, "Come closer to my boat. I'll open the hatch and tell you where your family is." The fisherman shouted, "Come closer to my boat. I'll open the hatch and tell you where your family is." At that moment, Kevin finally felt hopeful. Believing that he was about to be reunited with his wife and son, he slowly steered his boat toward the fisherman. But the moment Kevin got close enough, the fisherman suddenly picked up a steel spear and drove it straight into Kevin's boat, making a large hole below the waterline. He didn't want to take any chances. He knew that once Kevin found his family, he would immediately report everything to the police. Kevin's life was hanging by a thread. Fortunately, Kevin had been sitting with his head above the upper section of the boat, which gave him enough time to survive as the boat slowly filled with water. The criminal fisherman assumed Kevin was already dead, so he simply left the area and disappeared. Kevin now faced another deadly situation. If he couldn't escape from the sinking boat, he would drown as it filled with water. Luckily, fate was finally on his side. Just after Kevin managed to get out of the sinking boat and stay afloat for a short time, a tourist ship happened to pass by. The tourists noticed him struggling in the water and immediately rescued him. They quickly brought him back to the harbor. As soon as he reached safety, Kevin reported everything to the Coastal Guard and the local authorities. He explained how two fishermen had blackmailed him, taken a huge amount of money from him, and hidden his wife and son on an unknown island without revealing the location. The rescue team decided that they would have to wait until sunrise before beginning a large-scale search. However, finding Kevin's family would be extremely difficult because there were countless islands scattered throughout the area. Kevin was terrified. He knew his wife and son had very little time left. Without food or water, they wouldn't survive much longer. The investigation was assigned to a senior officer. However, instead of believing Kevin, the officer became suspicious of him. He thought Kevin had planned the entire incident himself. According to his theory, Kevin had intentionally abandoned his own family on the island and was falsely accusing the fisherman so he could later claim insurance money. Kevin repeatedly insisted that none of it was true. All he wanted was to save his family. Unfortunately, the senior officer refused to trust his story. Feeling completely helpless, Kevin realized that no one was willing to help him, so he decided to investigate the case on his own. He went to a nearby cafe and collected maps of all the surrounding islands. He carefully studied every island, trying to figure out which one could possibly be hiding his family. Despite examining every possible location, he couldn't reach any conclusion. Anyone would have been confused with so many islands spread across the sea. Then Kevin remembered something important. He recalled seeing a strange wound on one of the fisherman's hands. Soon afterward, he noticed a similar injury on a local boat driver. Kevin immediately asked him where he had gotten the wound. The driver explained that it was caused by a stingray while fishing. Growing suspicious, Kevin asked where he had received treatment. The driver told him that there was only one hospital in the entire region capable of treating that kind of injury. At that moment, Kevin realized that the fisherman had probably visited the same hospital. Without wasting any time, he got the hospital's address and rushed there. To avoid raising suspicion, Kevin deliberately injured his own hand and went to hospital as a patient. While receiving treatment, he shared his entire story with the female doctor. He explained how two fishermen had kidnapped his family and how desperately he was trying to find them. Kevin then asked if she could show him the records of the hospital's recent patients. At first, the doctor refused because the records were confidential, but after hearing Kevin's heartbreaking story, she felt sorry for him and finally agreed to help. She showed him the patient records. Unfortunately, the files didn't contain photographs. They only listed details such as age, height, and physical description, making it almost impossible to identify the fisherman. Kevin continued searching for more clues. During the investigation, he managed to fight back against one of the fishermen and seriously injured him before escaping. He then headed to a nearby boat registration office, hoping to trace the fisherman's boat through its registration number. He searched through the records, but none of the information helped him identify the exact location of his family. Kevin kept thinking about the second fisherman, whose name was Jack. He believed that if he could find Jack, he might finally discover the island where Sarah and his son were being held. But finding one man in such a huge coastal area seemed almost impossible. After searching everywhere, Kevin eventually sat down on the shore in complete frustration. Just then, he noticed a man talking on the phone. That single moment gave Kevin a new idea. Without wasting another second, he immediately called the local embassy for help. Meanwhile, Kevin finally managed to reach his family. He desperately tried to wake Sarah. She could barely open her eyes, but seeing that she was still alive filled him with hope. However, his son wasn't breathing. Kevin panicked and immediately began performing CPR. He continued giving chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, desperately fighting to bring his son back to